we pause to recognize the achievements of our faculty as well as our students at the same time. For Academic Emergency Medicine sponsors the Excellence in Emergency Medicine Award. It recognizes a senior medical student who has shown exceptional ability and performance in the field of emergency medicine and who plans to specialize in this area. Selection is made by the Department of Emergency Medicine from the students who have rotated through the department during the past year. This year, the recipient is Kayla Dewey. Next, we are pleased to award the Sagar Gupta MD Memorial Scholarship Award. This commemorative award was created by his family and friends to recognize a graduating student with an outstanding academic record entering a short-term residency at LAC plus USC Medical Center. This year, we recognize the achievements of Jeremy Matthew Montez.
Kayla.
Congratulations. Congrats.
Beyond, yes.
Do you have anything to say to Kayla?
I love you. Congratulations. More than fabulous.
What about you, Emily?
You're making me think that I have to say something nice now.
Yeah, something nice to go in the graduation movie.
That's hard to do. Happy graduation, Dr. Ducky! Woo!
Dr. Ducky, I love it. What about you, Emily? You got anything to say?
Congratulations, Dewey, you did it! Yay! You might be the first Dr. Dewey, but I'll be the second.
Woo!
Two's bigger than one. Two is bigger than one. I got a question now.
Ready? Next stop, NIH.
Woo!
I think I got some years of experience. Going to San Diego this weekend. So Kayla texted me. Congratulations. It's Saturday. I was like, sure. We have 2 hours to pay.
Check that out. See who just texted us. See who texted us. Type where we are to Davey. Davey. I'll text him in a minute.
I already texted him. You got David?
Please stand for the playing of our national anthem by the Georgia Marching Band. Gentlemen, please remove your caps.
Just barely made it. Thank you.
Grand Marshal for this momentous event. I now declare commencement exercises for the Keck School of Medicine of the University of Southern California officially open. It is with great pleasure and incomparable pride that I present to you the class of 2013.
would you please come to the podium and lead us in the invocation?
Let us be not only physically present, but spiritually present, fully awake to this wonderful moment as we join for a moment of prayerful meditation. Dear one, source and purpose of life, mother of our urge to learn and to grow, father of our desire to heal and to serve, we gather with humble and grateful hearts to reflect on the long, hard road that these graduates have walked to reach this time and place. And we gather to enjoy the fruits of all that time, effort, study, and care. May we appreciate not only the happiness of this occasion, but also its sacredness. May our delight and accomplishments earned be intensified by our awareness of the precious trust that comes with these degrees. May our awareness of your divine presence heighten the heartiness of the celebration today. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Berklow. Ladies and gentlemen, graduates, please be seated. I am pleased to see so many family members and friends gathered here on this joyous occasion. I would like to introduce, and let's give them a round of applause as a group after I've done so, the members of the hospital and university leadership here today as members of the platform party. The chair of the Department of Family Medicine, Dr. Jerry Gates. The chair of the Department of Obstetrics. In my final pre-race discussion with Dr. Glenn Alt, medical commissioner of the LA Marathon, I asked, were we ready to handle what I felt was the worst thing that could happen during a marathon? A runner in apparent great shape who suffers a cardiac arrest in some remote part of the course. Dr. Alt assured me that we were ready. And in Los Angeles on St. Patrick's Day, the marathon went smoothly. We easily met all the medical needs. Less than a month later, we all saw the worst thing that could happen at a marathon, a terrorist bomb attack at the finish line in Boston. However, beginning just a few seconds after the blast, we saw true heroism everywhere. One observer reported the people on the street, the sidewalk volunteers, instead of running away, they stopped and fell and worked the people. And physicians led the way. There was a surgeon from Salina, Kansas, who finished 30 seconds before the blast and turned right around and ran to ground zero and began saving life and limb. There was the pediatric resident from Boston who, after the marathon had stopped, jumped the barricades and ran toward the finish line to help many wounded. There were the physicians and nurses who ran the 50 yards from the medical tent right into the bomb's aftermath to help the grievously wounded, not worrying about whether another explosion might occur. And there were the efforts of hundreds of physicians in every medical specialty that addressed the needs of the hundreds injured and maimed that day. It was a great moment in the history of medicine, American medicine, and it is something that every one of us in the medical profession can be proud of. And in this story, there lies a message for all of us, and in particular, our graduates. In moments of crisis, large or small, both communities and individuals look to physicians to lead the way toward healing. It may be on the battlefield. It may be on the sidewalk on Boylston Street or in the suburban clinic. It may be a patient critically injured in a car crash or a family struggling to deal with a new diagnosis of cancer. They will be looking toward you, members of the class of 2013, for help, solace, guidance, indeed leadership. I know this class, and I know that you will be ready in those difficult moments ahead to respond with both courage and compassion. Godspeed and best wishes from all of us at your medical school. We will miss you. It is my great pleasure to introduce the provost and the academic leader of the University of Southern California, someone who has played an instrumental role in the growth and development of the Keck School of Medicine and the Keck Medicine of USC, Provost Elizabeth Garrett. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you. I am so pleased to join this afternoon in celebrating the talented students upon whom the USC Keck School of Medicine will confer the degree of medical doctor. I extend our greetings on behalf of President Nikias and the Board of Trustees, and our thanks to the faculty and staff who have helped these graduates succeed in their studies. I also want to take a moment and recognize perhaps the most important people here today, the families and the friends of our graduating MDs who have ensured that they succeed, that they are supported, and who will continue to support them in their future. Will the families and the friends of our graduates please stand and let us thank and recognize you. Forget the class of 2013. Congratulations. This ceremony is a milestone on the personal and intellectual path that has required rigorous effort and dedication to learning. Successfully navigating this path is testament to your ability to solve difficult problems and overcome unforeseen challenges with intelligence and with poise. It confirms your preparedness for practice as physicians, surgeons, and medical professionals. Your passion to help and comfort others is not just a passion anymore, it is also your responsibility. We respect you for making this commitment, and we are proud that you represent USC wherever you go. Today, doctors leave medical school equipped with a collection of skills, knowledge, and technological proficiency that rivals and perhaps even exceeds what doctors of the past might have developed after only a full career. This is important because you enter a very competitive profession, as well as a society that faces complex problems that manifest in ways we've not seen before. Healthcare costs, policy, and ethics are hot-button issues of the moment. The debates will undoubtedly bring changes to which you will need to respond during your careers. Transformative research, much of which is being done here at USC, is uncovering new methods and inspiring new mechanisms for approaching the treatment of illness. Above all, your profession focuses on the human being, often at some of the most difficult times of our lives. I ask you to keep in mind the words of Giorgio Baglivi, one of the most influential physicians of the 17th century, who served as physician to Popes Innocent XII and Clement XI. He said, "Let the young know that they will never find a more interesting, more instructive book than the patient himself." These words still ring true, perhaps even more so, considering our culture that perhaps due to technology and calls for ever-increasing efficiency, sometimes overlooks the human element, the immense value that one finds in personal contact and connections. The medical field today needs leaders like you who not only diagnose and treat disease, but understand the person and the context in a world that is more diverse and more interconnected than ever before. You are not simply doctors with masteries of fact, but lifelong learners with broad perspectives and a keen awareness of medicine's dynamic future. Today you are beginning a journey that may take you far away from USC, perhaps even Los Angeles. As alumni of the University of Southern California, however, you are fortunate. Our Trojan family is unrivaled, and no matter how far you go in the world, no matter how far your journey takes you, we will always be here to support and celebrate your achievements as we do today with your teachers, your mentors, your friends, and your family. Congratulations, class of 2013, and fight on.
Provost Garrett. The class of 2013 has invited 2 speakers to acknowledge this occasion on their behalf. The first speaker is a member of the class, and he will be introduced by Andrew Gauspal, one of the class co-presidents. Andrew, come forward.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, faculty, family and friends, and almost doctors. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce your student speaker, Nima Tahiri. I really don't think I could properly introduce a man like Nima Tahiri. He's like Doogie Howser meets Chuck Norris, meets Disney's Aladdin, meets David Beckham, meets Screech from Saved by the Bell. He's a chameleon that can blend in any crowd and yet somehow stand out in that same crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, don't just call him a future doctor. He's a world-class athlete, a hip-hop connoisseur, a style icon. When you see him on the basketball court, you would swear he's the second coming of John Stockton the way he dishes out those assists. His Bay Area roots give him a distinct outlook on hip-hop music, and I'm forever privileged to be mentored by this man. Nima's style and sophistication is also second to none. I think Hugo Boss or Armani will be making scrubs or white coats soon, and we'll call it the Tahiri tradition. This man even had his car valet parked and bottle service at our med prom this year. Before coming to Keck School of Medicine, Nima graduated from UCLA with a degree in political science and was a member of the Sigma Pi Beta fraternity, the only Persian fraternity in the world. Nima actually invited me to one of these parties, and he told me, and I quote, "We're going to dress up. No T's left undotted, no I's left uncrossed." Nima will complete his residency in internal medicine at LA County USC and will become undoubtedly a spectacular doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who once told me that sharks have dedicated a whole week to him, the man who used to sit in the Norris Medical Library to, quote, listen to Gaga, learn about the spine, and order groceries on Vons.com, my good friend and your student speaker, Nima Tahiri.
Thank you, Andy, for that gracious introduction. I think I should have had you write my personal statement instead of that guy I found on Craigslist. I can't tell you all how honored I am to be standing here for this momentous occasion to address the Keck School of Medicine class of 2013. This isn't my first time at the Shrine. Actually, the last time I was here, it was for the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards in support of major recording artist Taylor Swift. Needless to say, I've come a long way since then. I'd like to take this time to welcome our friends, our family, and our loan officers. To congratulate and support us during this very special time. This is for you, Wells Fargo. You have been more instrumental than you know in getting us to where we are today. Because honestly, without you in our lives, we might have ended up at USC Law School instead. Thank you to our honorable faculty. For helping us unlearn everything we picked up watching House, Grey's Anatomy, and my least favorite, scrubs. I'd like to also thank the Trojan family for accepting a former Bruin like myself into the household. Hold up. I remember the first time I met Dean Puliafito at his home. Don't worry, there are other people there too. I told him I did my undergraduate studies at UCLA, just introducing myself, and he shook my hand and he said, "That's okay, son. You're home now." Lastly, before I begin, if anyone is live tweeting this event, please use the hashtag "I can't believe this guy's gonna be a doctor," lowercase, no space. Now, the most frequently asked question I've gotten from my friends and family looking for a date has been, do any of your attendings look like McDreamy and or McSteamy? My answer, wait till you meet Dr. Snow. That's the man sitting in blue over here. I don't think he saw that one coming. However, the second most common question I get is, what exactly have you been learning in medical school? And to make them lose all confidence in the medical profession, I look at them with a straight face and ask if they've ever played the game Operation. It's a lot like that. But as I began writing my speech, I reflected back on my 4 years at Keck. So let's start from the very beginning. Year 1, when we went from drinking from the fire hose of knowledge at the lecture hall to drinking from the open bar at Met Prom, which, as many of my peers may recall, led to the paramedics being dispatched to the dance floor. Year 2, we continued to learn how to work as a team during anatomy lab, and we learned how to be awkward as a team during the genital exam workshops, which also happens to be the title of the first chapter of my autobiography, soon to be on Amazon.com. We were taught survival techniques to prepare for man-made disasters, like the step 1. And many of us made it out okay, while others were put on psychiatric holds. But once it was all over, we bid farewell to the classroom and began doing what we really came here for, to rock the white coat and scrubs, and then post it on Facebook. During third-year orientation, we were told that we could no longer webcast our medical education. This came to a big blow to me, personally, living in Westwood. But now we were told we must physically show up to the hospital, because apparently, the good people at Apple have yet to figure out how to deliver a baby with an iPad mini. Speaking of babies, let's start the third year by discussing the OB-GYN rotation. Will security please restrain Dr. Arias before I begin? Here we learn that a baby is only one of many surprises that come out during birth. I don't know why they didn't put that in the movie Knocked Up. Thankfully though, my classmate, spiritual guru, and confidant, David Cohen, warned me about this beforehand, giving me time to get my hazmat gear together before setting foot in labor and delivery. Don't forget to put on your boots, guys. During surgery, we channeled our inner Steven Spielberg while driving the laparoscopic camera in preparation for a Sundance Film Festival. We learned how to retract like a pro. And most importantly, we learned how to take an emotional beating from a scrub tech while not crying on the sterile field. No one wants Dr. Inaba mad at them. Speaking of emotional battery, during psychiatry, we discovered that the 5150 is not a tax form, but rather a mandatory 3-day all-inclusive vacation in Ward 2E. Which, by the way, has been getting great reviews on Yelp for their Haldol cocktails. I believe we also have some available with the refreshments after the ceremony. So just yell out code green Keck ER a couple times, and someone will come out to help you. On pediatrics, we realized that the phrase "gone viral" is only a good thing when you're talking about YouTube. And after the 3rd time catching a child-borne virus, you're perfectly justified under the common law to steal some lollipops and stickers for yourself. It's like stealing candy from a baby. Literally. During internal medicine, we learned to read chest x-rays, how to interpret EKGs, and how to calculate the loading dose of Seattle's best coffee necessary to get you through 3 sets of rounds. And lastly, during family medicine, my first love, we learned the concept of a normal 9-to-5 day, something most of us will sadly never experience again. And before we knew it, 4th year came around and it was time to choose our specialties. But that's when I realized medical school is a lot like high school. In orthopedics, you have the jocks trading war stories of past fractures and dislocations that they reduced on their own. In OB-GYN, you have your ex-cheerleaders that used to spell team at football games, not spelling push in the maternity suite. In radiology, you have your World of Warcraft gamers that are still playing the game, but now in the radiology reading room. And of course, your Babysitters Club graduates going into pediatrics. The list goes on, but the take-home message here is that no matter what personality disorder you may have, we've got a medical specialty for you. Clearly, we learned a lot of unconventional wisdom and clinical pearls training at County. All jokes aside, these past 4 years have truly humbled me. And I'm honored and proud to have worked with such brilliant people. One of my attendings once advised me not to let my future training beat the humanity out of me. Of course, at the time, I was half asleep and couldn't really comprehend anything. But once I bolused myself with IV Red Bull, I knew that these words would stick with me for the rest of my life. As my Instagram follower and CrossFit partner, the Dalai Lama, once said, "Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive." While our goal is to diagnose and treat disease, we cannot successfully bring healing without first being empathetic and compassionate toward our patients. Dr. House might disagree, but then again, his show is now canceled. So to the class of 2013, I wish you all the best in residency and in life. It's truly been a pleasure training alongside each and every one of you. As we move on to new hospitals and new cities and post our furniture on Craigslist, remember, only meet in a public place and never accept bills over $20. Our experiences at County will always keep us together. So when you're in your residency saving lives while reciting well-written internal monologue like Zach Braff, don't be shy to tell everyone at your new institutions that you went to USC. But if you get caught not washing your hands and spreading drug-resistant bacteria to your unsuspecting patients, that's a good time to tell everyone you went to UCLA. Sorry guys, I didn't mean it. Thank you very much.
the other class co-president, will introduce our keynote speaker. Kate, come on.
Yes.
Quite a tough act to follow, but good afternoon. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Robert K. Ross. He is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the California Endowment, and he is this year's commencement speaker. The California Endowment, which has been led by Dr. Ross since 2000, is one of the nation's largest foundations dedicated to advancing new avenues to expand access to affordable, quality health care for medically underserved communities, and to promote fundamental improvements in the health status of all Americans. Prior to leading the endowment, Dr. Ross was the director of the Health and Human Services Agency for the County of San Diego from 1993 to 2000. He was Commissioner of Public Health for the City of Philadelphia from 1990 to 1993, and he earned his bachelor's, master's, and medical degrees from the University of Pennsylvania. As a future pediatrician, I have to throw in there that he was also a clinical instructor at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. He was faculty at San Diego State University's School of Public Health, and he's also a diplomat of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Dr. Ross visited the Keck School of Medicine this past February during Black History Month, and he spoke on campus about cultivation, closing the gap in disparities in African American young men and vulnerable youth. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Robert Ross.
I wanted to make sure I got Bima's name right. Just want to say, if you chose this cat to be a valedictorian, I'm worried about this class, Carmen. Oh boy. Graduates and family and faculty and administration, I'm really quite humbled and flattered to share a few words with you today. I want to acknowledge the outstanding leadership by two individuals that are giants in their respective fields. That is Dr. Henry Ford and Dr. Carmen Puliafito, and great stewardship. Dr. Henry Ford is a great friend, and Dr. Puliafito is a good friend. You know, Dr. Puliafito thinks that the reason why he's only a good friend and Dr. Henry Ford is a great friend is he probably thinks it's because we're both black. But that's not the reason, Carmen. You know the reason. And I'm going to, despite your enormous resume and extraordinary achievements as a surgeon and Renaissance man, Dr. Puliafito's single greatest flaw is that he is an avid Boston Red Sox fan. And no self-respecting Yankee fan can ever call a Boston Red Sox fan a great friend. So I just want to... But he's a good man nonetheless. Actually, in seriousness, I want to take off on a theme that you heard from Dr. Puliafito about healing. I'm going to share with you a story that goes back a number of years for me. At the time, I was a second-year pediatric resident at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. The second year involves, as many of you will learn and know, your ICU and ER rotations and PICU and NICU and all those places where really sick people go. And I was on call in the ER one night when a child was rushed in by the ambulance, and it was a tragic story. For those of you that have raised families out there that have raised children, 2-year-olds move quickly. And this particular little 2-year-old was at home with his family. It's a summer day. Mom thought that Willie was with Dad, and Dad thought that Willie was with Mom, and they couldn't find Willie in the house, and a frantic search went on for Willie in the house, and they couldn't find Willie, and they went into the backyard and found Willie at the bottom of the family swimming pool. And Willie was rushed into the emergency room after 911 was called. By the time he got to the ER, he was in really bad shape. His pupils were dilated and nearly fixed. His reflexes were minimal. It's extreme evidence of hypoxia and acidosis. And he was rushed up to the pediatric intensive care unit. We had a room in the corner of the pediatric intensive care unit, which the residents and the interns called the doom room, because that was the room reserved for children who were really an extremist and quite ill and may not survive, and Willie went to that room. Interestingly, Willie survived that acute episode, and that next week, my next rotation was the PICU. So I got transferred from my rotation in emergency rooms up to the PICU. So I began to take care of Willie as one of my patients in the pediatric intensive care unit. And I was standing with the family at the bedside when the attending neurologist, who was a world-famous neurologist that had edited the world's leading pediatric textbook on neurology, pediatric neurology, when he told the family that based on the EEG, the brainwave test, and other indicators, it did not appear that Willie would survive. And if, in fact, in the unlikely event that he did survive, he would never be the same little Willie again. He would not speak, nor laugh, nor go to the bathroom, or any of the things that we expect our children to do when they grow up. And so the family had obviously a tough time digesting this. They offered the family the opportunity to take Willie off of the ventilator and let him transition peacefully to the next world. The family went home, they thought about this, they came back the next day, and they told the family, they told the physicians that they wanted to continue to work hard to give Willie every opportunity to turn around. So Willie got a little bit better. He was eventually weaned off of those wires and tubes and things that we use to help keep people alive and breathe for them, like ventilators and hyperalimentation and all those other things that the graduates here have learned about. And he improved enough to be taken off the ventilator and was transferred to the 5th floor pediatric med-surg, where my next rotation was, interestingly enough. So I stayed with the family and got to know the family for quite some time. But while he was in the pediatric intensive care unit, he was in a coma, in a deep coma. We saw the family do something that the veteran nurses in the pediatric intensive care unit had never seen before. They gave Willie, of course, the kind of loving, caring embrace that you would give your child. And even though he was in a very deep coma and was unresponsive, they made sure that he had constant voices of family in Willie's ear. And so they would talk to him and read to him even while he was in a coma. And if the family went home at night, they would leave a tape recorder of family members reading stories and talking to Willie. And they even left batteries so that if the tape recorder ran out of batteries in the middle of the night, they would ask the nurse to change the batteries. So Willie would constantly hear family members in his very damaged brain. And so Willie did improve a little bit, got off the ventilator, went up to 5-med surge. I took care of him again. Again, got to know the family very well. Willie improved enough to go to a rehab facility, although, again, not speaking, not laughing, and being fed through a feeding tube. And then I lost touch with the family. And I want to come back to what happened to Willie in a little bit. So the reason why I wanted to share that story is because of what you heard from Dr. Pugliafito, that this craft that you've chosen, this path that you've chosen, never let it forget that it's about healing. And there is an element of the craft of healing that has to do with faith. I don't mean necessarily a religious faith or denominational faith. But faith is that which is the power of unseen evidence. And so I want you to just, as graduates, I want you to sit with that a little bit, because what's going to happen to medicine and what is happening to the health of the practice of medicine over the next few years, this is the health reform class. This class here, this class will see more changes in healthcare delivery than the previous 50 years of graduates in this country. And you've already begun to get familiar with terms. I'll read some of them off to you, but certainly these are the biggest changes, families, in healthcare in 50 years are happening right now in terms of healthcare reform. And you're going to hear terms like ACA and HIT and EHR and EMR and NCQA, HEDIS, AAA, and QHP, DMHC, CalSIN, HIPAA, HMO, PPO, EPO, ACO, MCO, PCP, FFS, CMMI, global budgets, global payments, base payments, bundled payments, narrow networks, tiered networks, pay for performance, PMPMs, reference pricing. Don't you have a headache? That's the language of the new healthcare and of the reform of our healthcare system. And so I want you to remember, as you go forward, graduates, you're going to encounter a lot of people who are going to inflate themselves in terms of their self-importance because of these terms and the language, and they will even assert that they know more than you about these issues and matters and terms and language, and that makes them a better doctor than you. And don't you believe a word of it. Because the career that we've chosen is still fundamentally, and this will never change, about healing. And healing is about people, and healing is about compassion, and it's about humility, and it's about courage and strength, and listening and engaging and talking. And this is the stuff that continues to matter in the sacred relationship of trust between patient and doctor. And if you want to ask any of your family members what makes a good doctor, they will not talk about board certification. A good doctor is someone who listens and cares. That's how your grandmother and your aunt and your cousins define a good doctor. It's not familiarity with the acronyms and terms and language I just ran through a list of. And so let me come back to Willie, because I want to talk a little bit more about faith and about attitude. So Willie goes to a rehab facility, and I lose touch with the family for about 7 years. I had no idea what had happened to little Willie. He was 2 at the time that he left the hospital. And about 7 years later, I had my 15 minutes of fame. And the reason why was because I was with the Philadelphia Health Department, and Philadelphia and the nation were dealing with a terrible measles epidemic. And the only time someone from your local health department is on television is when something is going terribly wrong. They never put us on TV for good news in the public health department. And so I was on TV for a week, because we had all these cases of measles in the community. And I was advising parents and families through the media on what to do about the epidemic and how to get their children immunized and what the complications of measles were and all that stuff. The reason why that's relevant is because it was during that week that I was in a meeting at the Public Health Department, again, around managing this measles epidemic. And my secretary interrupts me with a phone call. And I said, listen, I'm in an important meeting, can this wait? He said, well, it's a kid on the phone, and I can't understand him. I said, well, is it one of my kids? I don't think so. I said, okay. So I get to the phone, say, hello, this is Dr. Ross. And this voice says, hey, Dr. Ross, saw you on the TV. I said, I'm sorry, who is this? The Dr. Ross, it's me, Willie Keach. Saw you on the TV. And so the tears begin to flow because I am talking to a miracle. And I talked to Willie for a little bit, and I was excited, and I said to Willie, Willie, where's Mom? I gotta talk to your mom. Put your mom on the phone. So Ann comes on the phone. She says, hey, Dr. Bob, we saw you on the TV, you look great. I said, Ann, forget about that. I just talked to Willie, and Willie talked to me. What happened? She said, oh, it's a long story. We just always had faith and never gave up on him. And she went on to tell me that Willie was still in a wheelchair, was wheelchair bound, and he was in special ed in school. And the principal, she said, yeah, we're gonna try and get him mainstream in class and get him out of special ed. And so, Dr. Bob, the principal told me that's never going to happen. And she said, we'll show him. And so, that was the miracle that was Willie. And about 10 years after that, I got a package in the mail. It's a photograph. And this is, you can't see it, I'm going to describe it to you. This is Willie at his high school prom. He's in the middle there in a wheelchair. Maybe some of the graduates in the front row. See, Willie had 2 dates. A set of twins at his high school prom.
Oh my God.
Now, I know there are a bunch of dudes in this audience who couldn't get 1 date to the high school prom. So Willie went on to graduate from Westchester State University in Pennsylvania and is working in the Philadelphia region now. And so I wanted to drop that story that will always stay with me as a reminder about those things that you just can't measure. You can measure BUN and creatinine and hemoglobin A1C and blood pressure and a whole bunch of stuff that you'll order and learn about, but you can't measure faith and attitude and courage. And before I close, I just want you to consider for a moment in your own personal journey. And if you do one thing in between this day today and the time you start the next step of your journey, your internship, your residency, I want you to do me one favor, speaking specifically to the graduates right now. There is somebody in your family in your family's history who had faith enough and sacrificed enough and endured enough so that you could be sitting here today. How many people in this audience, graduates included, faculty included, if your family grew up in poverty, raise your hand. If your family grew up in poverty, raise your hand. Keep it up. If your grandparents grew up in poverty, raise your hand. If your grandparents. If your great-grandparents grew up in poverty, raise your hand. Keep it up. This is the American story. Most Americans are 3, maybe 4 generations away from a story of extraordinary faith and sacrifice and enduring. And somebody, and I want you to find out who that was, graduates, in your family, who took the risk. Maybe it was a Jewish family behind Nazi Germany. Maybe it came through Angel Island, maybe through Ellis Island. Maybe your father's a sharecropper in the South. Immigrant family crossed the border from Mexico, but somebody decided through faith and attitude and hard work that they were going to sacrifice and endure so you could be sitting here today at one of the most extraordinary universities on the planet, wearing pretty fancy robes and getting a pretty fancy degree in about 10 minutes, and sipping on champagne or a fine, nice Napa Valley Chardonnay tonight. And that person who endured and took the risk so you could be here didn't have that kind of opportunity. And I just want you to, as you continue on your journey, keep that person and keep that struggle and keep that story in mind. It will keep you going not only for yourself when the times get tough, but when you run into a patient who seems lost and hopeless, maybe you can just tap into that and bring up the power of healing, because that patient will need you in that moment. Because this is about leadership. And I will close you with my favorite definition of leadership. It is 3 words. Hope in action. Thank you. God bless you all.
What a powerful address. At the time that we selected Dr. Ross as the keynote speaker in consultation with the leadership of the graduating class, the leadership of the medical school elected Dr. Ross to give you a unique award. This is the Dean's Humanitarian Service Award of the Keck School of Medicine of USC. And here's the inscription. Presented to Robert K. Ross, Jr. for his lifelong efforts promoting access to health care for all Americans. And there's a quote on this. It's really a very powerful quote from a very powerful American, the Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr. Quote, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. Dr. Ross, thank you for everything you've done to advance the healthcare of America. We will now proceed to the Student Teaching Awards, and I'd like to ask our presidents to come forward. We have 2 awards, one for basic science and one for clinical, and Caitlin and Andrew will join me on the podium again.
The first award is for the Kaiser Excellence in Teaching for Basic Sciences, and I'm proud to say that this is for Dr. Michael Snow.
The Kaiser Excellence Teaching in Clinical Science Award is awarded to one of my heroes and one of my mentors, Dr. Kenji Inaba.
The class of 2013 is a truly outstanding group of individuals. In an award ceremony held Thursday on the medical school, we recognized individual students with outstanding records of academic achievement, research, and community service. If you haven't done so yet, I would encourage you to look into your program to read the names of these outstanding individuals. I would now like to ask Provost Garrett to return to the podium to confer the degrees on behalf of the university. Will all candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine please rise and remain standing for the conferment of the degree.
By the Board of Trustees, I now confer upon you the degree Doctor of Medicine, for which you have been recommended with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. As evidence of this degree, you are presented with the diploma of the Keck School of Medicine of the University of Southern California, signed and stamped with the seal of this university. Congratulations.
Our graduates with their diplomas, and I would like to recognize those individuals who've won more than one degree. We have 3 of our graduates who are being awarded not only the MD but the PhD for an outstanding career of 7 to 8 years at our medical school working on basic or applied research. And those individuals are Alana Doreen Dixon, Tanmai Saxena, and Stephen Sai. In collaboration with the Marshall School of Business, the Keck School of Medicine offers a dual MD-MBA degree. And one of our outstanding graduates has completed both degrees, Michael Patrick Directo. Keck School of Medicine offers a dual MD-MPH degree that prepares physicians for roles in public health, public policy, and community medicine. Dr. Jaime Gonzalez has Dr. Elliott, as the Associate Dean for Student Affairs, will please present the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine.
All the graduates except those in the first row, please be seated at this time. Provost Garrett, Dean Poliafito, Dr. Ford, Dr. Arias, Dr. Snow, Dr. Inaba, please prepare to hood the graduates and present the diplomas. Will the first row of graduates please proceed up the stairs to my right?
Is it alphabetical order? Okay. Okay, thanks. So Caitlin should be in this row then.
Dr. Caitlin Francis Carroll. Dr. Andrew Joseph Gospel. Dr. Nima Taheri. Dr. Scott Christopher Carney. Dr. Anthony William Catalano. Dr. Brian Perry Cervenka. Dr. Carney Chen. Dr. Sylvia Shanti Lakshmi Charles. Dr. Bhupinder Kaur Chima. Dr. Thomas Chung. Dr. Ryan Thomas Church. Dr. David Cohen. Dr. Erica Kwam. Dr. Amy Lauren Cummings. Dr. Andrew James Davis. Dr. Rahel Zimbalacho Denise. Dr. Kayla Dewey. Dr. Luke Boone Donnelly. Dr. Shannon Snook-Drala. Dr. Jennifer Lorraine Farah. Dr. Elliot Asher Freed. Dr. Morgan Elizabeth Fullerton. Dr. Gustavo Osei Garcia. Dr. Samuel Jacob Sidovetsky.
Doctor of Medicine graduates, please stand for the Hippocratic Oath and remain standing after administration of the oath. Please refer to your program and repeat after me when you had a chance to get it. I swear by Apollo the physician and all the gods and goddesses, and by whatsoever I hold most sacred, that I'll be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor, that into whatsoever house I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick, to the utmost of my power, holding myself far aloof from wrong, from corruption, from the tempting of others to vice, that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients, and will give no drug, perform no operation for a criminal purpose, even if solicited, far less suggested. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men and women, which is not fit to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. Now, if I keep this oath and break it not, may I enjoy honor in my life and art for all time. Congratulations.
Moment has come. Graduates of the class of 2013, please flip your tassels to the left to signify your degree. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the ranks of the Keck School of Medicine alumni, a very special group of individuals who shared special experiences at the University of Southern California, the LAC plus USC Medical Center, and CHLA. I would like to thank the many family and members and friends who come here today on this momentous occasion. And I'd also like to thank our two keynote speakers who gave two of the most memorable addresses I've ever heard on such an occasion. Reverend Berklow, please step forward and deliver the benediction.
Dear one whose name is love, thanks and hallelujah for these graduates today. Thanks and hallelujah for all who have stood beside them in their quest to reach this joyous moment. Families, friends, faculty, staff, patients. Thanks and hallelujah for the healing that these graduates now offer the world. May their work reflect your divine compassion. Now, breathe into us a Holy Spirit of uninhibited hallelujah as we celebrate this joyful occasion. Amen.
The Trojan Marching Band will now play the Alma Mater. commencement ceremonies are now officially closed. Will the audience please remain seated until the end of the reception? At the conclusion of the ceremony, our commencement reception will follow immediately in McCarthy Quad, across the street on the university campus. To get there, exit the auditorium, continue through the lobby and out of the building, turn to your left outside, and proceed across Jefferson Boulevard to meet the graduates in McCarthy Quad. Trims will also be available, taking guests from in front of the shrine to McCarthy Quad. The university campus provides an ideal setting for photographs. It will be much more appealing than right outside of McCarthy, the shrine, where there's going to be pure chaos at the end of the ceremony. So please, we urge you to go onto the quad to take your picture. And this leads me to my final instruction to the students of the, did I say students? Oh my gosh. I gotta get into the right order of things. The doctors of the class of 2013. So my first request to my new colleagues of the class of 2013, please stay in the procession down the aisle, out of the auditorium, turn left across Jefferson to USC. Just follow the person in front of you, who after all, is a doctor and must know where he or she is going. So don't stop until you have some refreshment in your hands. Congratulations. Will the members of the platform party and graduates please stand?
You want to?
It's amazing. When Kayla was in 6th grade, she fell in love with the show ER. And she said to Beth and I, I'm going to be an ER doctor. 6th grade. And you have never wavered from that commitment.
Nope.
And that's unbelievable.
And it really wasn't George Clooney, right? It had nothing to do with him. Okay. I just want to make sure that was clear.
So some of you guys, some of you folks are wondering, why does Kayla have so many parents? And Beth and I finally figured it out. It's because we needed help keeping her busy. So if you're here, you're either a parent, a surrogate parent, or a friend. And it's been really great to watch you, Kayla, build your community. And this is your community. And we're all here for you. And we're really, really proud. Yes, we are. When the pager goes off at the Georgetown Hospital the first time, it's going to be Dr. Ducky, Dr. Ducky, please report to the ER.
Oh yeah, they don't know about Dr. Ducky yet.
We love you.
Yes, we do.
So we got to know Kayla from our friend Debbie here. And Kayla was, and we brag about her all the time, was a 16-year-old at Claremont McKenna, correct? Going in, and she was selling Cutco knives. And she went to Debbie's house, and Debbie called us up and said, I'm sending somebody over, and you've got to meet this girl. So she showed up on our doorstep to sell us knives, and we have a full set now. Yes. But since then, what she's become to our family is, we knew immediately that she's going to be an ER doctor, because she has a little routine. And she shows up at our house, she barges through the front door like Kayla does, she assesses the situation, she puts out fires, she takes care of what's immediate, figures out this can wait 10 minutes, that can wait 5 minutes, this needs a triage over here. She puts all of us back together, she hops in her car and she leaves. And we have counted on that for many, many years. And I'm going to tell you, for the Hargraves, this is a bittersweet day. Because we're going to miss her a lot. To Dr. Dewey.